it's 10 past 9. But I'm always sleeping away today. Because not only is it a holiday, it is a curfew day from 10 o'clock. And I only outside here because my mother called me yesterday to tell me she didn't get no bread and cheese. She told me that late in the evening yesterday. So I all over the place this morning to get bread and cheese for my mother. Anyway, I get it. I had to make about 9 different stops. And I get it because the supermarkets and the mini marts was told last night that they could have opened. But by then, it's only who living inside the mini mart could open it. To the people who watch these videos when I drive in and think that I'm in the right lane, the camera is mounted on the right side of the vehicle. So maybe that's why you get that illusion. Just to let you know. It's not the middle of the windscreen. It's on the absolute right side. Anyway. So I went Guangzhou. I went Guangzhou on Dago Martin Main Road. And I get the cheese. I line up about 20 minutes to pay for 2 blocks of cheese. What we call yellow cheese, rat cheese, cheddar cheese. And then I had to go up Dago and find a mini mart that had bread. And then I line outside. But the people in, I want to say this well. The people who live in the ghetto in Trinidad are the nicest people in Trinidad. The people who live in the ghetto just go out of their way to help a stranger. And that's been my experience my whole life. So when I pull up outside a little mini mart, there are about 5 people outside. You can see we dealing with the catch-ass crew. And different race. Everybody, some of them look like rum rough them up. Some look like life beat them up. But by now, this is my 9th stop. So I want to put on the mask, jump out the car to go inside to ask. So they have a line outside, 5 people, of this little mini mart. And I say, oh, I do that bread there. And everybody jump in the mission to get bread for me. And they pass my money forward and they pass my bread back to me. The last man in the line get the change. I don't know if he's sharing. But, and I need to say, the country could save. The mass of people in the country are good and decent people. They're good in their heart, they're good in their head. They're good and decent people. We have a handful of shit snakes, greedy people who they just need money to feel like they're somebody, and they just measure themselves against their neighbor and their brother and their sister. And we have that. We have that, and for the most part, it is that greed that has ruined this country, because it is that greed that fuels the drug trade. Big men in shirt and tie that sitting on the front pew of the church and the front of the mosque and the temple, involved in negotiations with people in foreign countries to move cocaine through Trinidad and find ways to get it into America and England and Vietnam and China and Spain. And big men who in other types of big business, who meeting with people who in Lodge and who in Rotary and Lions and getting a wife money to make up hamper for the poor come Christmas time. Big men like that doing that kind of stupidness, who sitting down with politicians and talking about, if I give you $500,000, I want to get this piece of project. This is what I want. They don't go in there saying, I'll give you $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million, and if you get something pelted by me. These people is going there and say, listen, I'll give you $500,000 and I want the project to install the cat's eyes on the road, the little lights in the scene in the middle of the road, again, a good deal from Amazon. I want to be able to supply it. And I know we'd spend 3 million, 4 million, 5 million a year in that. If you give me that contract, I charge in 10 million, you tell me where you want your 2.5 million, who picking it up for you? I give them that. And that's the greed that has destroyed this country. This morning at this time, 9/11, this morning, Trinidad broken, people dying, public health is the worst because of greedy men, corrupt and greedy politicians. But then I look back, I pull up by Guangzhou, security guard, he's about 19 times my size. Nice elbow bounce. So I go in, my boy, fall in now. And treating everybody so it's not just because it's me. And everybody in the line trying to do their business to get back home in time for curfew, because what they couldn't do between April 30th and May 31st and June 19th, they're going to do today. They're going to solve COVID today. They're going to wrap it up tomorrow. That could be the only thing in my mind that making sense. Because you've had 3 full 14 days. When you all hear me say that, let me explain it so you understand. They tell you that 14 days is the incubation cycle of COVID-19. That means if you touch somebody on the 1st of April who have COVID, and you get COVID on your hand and you don't realize, and then you dig your nose or you rub your eyes or you put your finger in your ear, and those who don't know, 90% of all transmission of all virus from person to person is through the eyes, nose and air. And that's why you need to be cautious, and that's why you're sanitizing and washing your hands as much as you are, because unconsciously, even when you have on the mask, you're fiddling with the mask. Anyway, 14 days is the maximum incubation. It doesn't take 14 days. It's not a system. It's between 2 to 14 days and have to do a lot of things, including your own immunity. But you know that if 14 days pass after you touch that person's hand and dig your nose, that the COVID that you got in your system, like 99.7% of the people, your system killed it in your nostrils. It killed it before it went anywhere, died. Your system killed it. The majority, the vast majority of people, right? The small minority that develop, because you could test positive for it and don't know you have it. The majority of people who testing positive, like my whole family who get it, none of them had any kind of real symptoms. None of them were debilitated in any way. They just isolated themselves home for 15 days, and then everybody get over the next time they test them, they have no COVID. I mean, you get a little sniffles, you get a little sore throat. And plenty people, tens of thousands of people in this country have had COVID and never get tested for it and didn't know. For them, and for the most majority of people, there is a minority of people, the obese, the elderly, those with comorbidities, whose body, like my partner who used to run the gym. I'm going to give you an example. Marshall. Poor Marshall, rest in peace. He's a nice guy. But what people don't understand is aging bodybuilders are morbidly obese. And you're fighting up and you're lifting that weights and things to keep the muscles a little firm and looking thing, but your body's organs not created to manage a body 2 times, 3 times the weight of what those organs were created for. Your kidney didn't get bigger, your heart didn't get bigger, your lungs didn't get bigger, your liver didn't get bigger, your lymphatic system didn't get bigger. Everything just working overtime to deal with a body. So it's like your existing body, all of your organs now dealing with 2 bodies, one that didn't have no organs at all. And then, so when you get something like COVID that requires the full attention of your immune system, it already busy fighting and tired. So if you're overweight, you're obese, if you have diabetes, heart disease, cancer, if you have any autoimmune disease, if you have anything that has your body already challenged, you could trip into full-blown COVID storm. And then, if you don't have a proper medical system to save you, your body will succumb to the effects of a virus. The virus is doing what it's supposed to do, and if your body can't do what it's supposed to do, your body as host will die. All of this, you know. All of this, we know. The 14 days incubation. Coming back to that. We have some good numbers to work with. We have some good numbers to work with. They locked down the country on April 30th. That is exactly 30 days from the weekend of the 1st of April, because Easter was the 4th of April. Rohan Sinanan and the Ministry of Works and Transport moved 50,000 people to Tobago through the ferry terminal, through Piaco Airport. 50,000 people. Now I want you to know that Tri-Ban is 3,000 people, 4,000 people. Poison at its biggest, when they say, look at people, 6,000 people. So when you're talking about 50,000 people, it means Rohan Sinanan, the Ministry of Works and Transport, moved a sizable population of people, almost the entire population of Tobago, moved to Tobago and back. So when you're doing the science called time and motion, you would understand that those people that were moved spent considerable time in each other's presence, jam up, because no matter how much you tell them you social distance, why it was a problem was the Prime Minister had said to people, COVID done. The Prime Minister said so in his speech. He said Tobago had no COVID. The THA did that. Give them a round of applause. They did a marvelous job. And this time, when you come in Tobago, you don't have to worry about the ferry. You could go when you want, come when you want. These are the words of your Prime Minister, the leader of this country, who is in charge of the public health. He's in charge of education. He's in charge of security. He's in charge of garbage pickup. That's the Prime Minister's job. And he told people he charged them up. He went out there in his white suit in that white chair to charge them up, to tell them Tobago is the South Beach of Trinidad and Tobago. And he tell them that, knowing that people had not had a real outing, unless you was in the Syrian wedding, people didn't have a real outing for about 14 months. So when he went and talked that piece of stupidness, the people who live the party, and there are plenty of people who live the party, I know people who, they recover, they reach home properly Ash Wednesday. They paying down on their costume for next carnival. They ain't not going to be alive, but they playing carnival next year. The one thing they know for sure. We have a bunch of people who are like that. Those 50,000 people, because there are people who didn't make it to Tobago, who didn't get through. Who didn't get on a plane, didn't get on a boat, didn't get through. Today our soldiers and our army and our coast guard mobilized to fight a virus that is as a direct result of our failure to mobilize our soldiers, our army and our coast guard to protect the borders. Because if we had protect the borders, COVID couldn't come into Trinidad. It doesn't come any other way but person-to-person transmission. Not lions, not tigers, not horses, not fowls, not donkeys, not from the sky, not from trees, not from water. COVID-19 comes from person-to-person transmission. Stuart Young and Fitzgerald Hines both fail and both should be fired, but that's a conversation for people with sense. I'm just giving you some information and hopefully you arrive at sense, so you start to make some sensible decisions. But our failure to secure the borders, letting all variants and all strains of COVID-19, original COVID, COVID light, COVID gluten-free, all the COVIDs that we've had, mutant, Brazilian, I hear they have one called Delta. So what the ass is this, boy? We really playing with the people now. I'm feeling, just now I hear Pikachu, or one of these, what do you call these animals? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is all of it came into Trinidad and Tobago. So all the soldiers and all the Coast Guard and all the army and the police and everybody in their uniform and their mask and everybody giving you instructions now are trying to close the stable door after the horse done bolt. Because Trinidad has to remain open for business for the narcotics cartel that own and operate politicians in this country, who go into our parliament and our cabinet to make deliberate decisions that facilitate a failure to secure the borders of 2 dots in the sea. And I'm going to keep hammering this home until somebody in a public office asks. I want to wait until maybe the president trip. Every now and then she's trip and ask a question of the things that I ask repeatedly. So I'm hoping maybe the president herself will say, why is it spending $9 billion a year on national security? For the past 20 years, you've spent enough money to have purchased Grenada cash just on national security. Why wasn't that enough? If you were spending $9 billion a year on national security, and you hire a security guard firm for that money, a security guard firm, give them the job. You're Trinidad watchman. Don't let nobody in. Guide the work. If you want this gravy train to flow, don't let nobody in. If you had hired a security guard firm to do the job, they'd have done the job. So the only reason our 8,000 police and 7,000 soldiers and 1,500 Coast Guard not securing the borders of this country is because those who call the shots don't want the border secure. Now you hear me say that and you know that is a fact. You see Sergeant Alexander in his Vice video when he talk about how Trinidad was a cocaine empire in the 80s, but now it's madness. They know he is now the head of SORT. He is now the head of SORT. He was on that Vice show, so he know and I know he know. So I waiting to see SORT go after the drug cartels. I telling you plain. As long as, and I bring it back to this, all them little black boys that killing one another with illegal weapons, that's because of the drug trade. The 241 gangs that Fitzgerald say is now 130. Nazma Mullah ask him, is there a gang register? Do you go to Ministry of Legal Affairs and fill out a form and say, we're forming an organization? What kind of organization? We're a gang? How many members you expect to have in the gang? You put on your numbers. Fitzgerald Hines talk that talk like he have a way of knowing this, but they have no way of fixing it. All of those gangs are funded with cocaine money or corruption money. The Commissioner of Police has told this country since 2014, when he was the Minister of National Security, that politicians on both sides of the divide have been paying gang members and gang leaders with government contracts to paint police station and fix school so that when election time come, they could work for them. So it cancelling each other out because the gangs working for both the PNM and the UNC. And we know this for a fact. We have all of this information as fact now. So I'm saying to you, Trinidad and Tobago, today, this morning, the reason they've put a clown like Fitzgerald Hines as Minister of National Security, and I'm not trying to be deliberately disrespectful by calling him a clown, but he's a clown. He's made himself. That's what he's chosen for himself. The way he carries himself, his posture, the things he said, him dancing to reggae in 102, knowing that they're filming him to put that. There was a time that he thought that the sum total of his political career used to be a clown, so he would stand up in the parliament and make an ass of himself. And now, somebody who's the most fired, hear me, Fitzgerald Hines has been fired politically more than anybody else in the history of this country. So he's expecting to be fired any day now. Any day now. And he know his place. That's why when the Canadian woman hush him up, he boiled down like Baji. He know his place. He know his job is to clown the scene. His job is to talk stupidness. And the reason they put somebody like Fitzgerald Hines and not somebody who is trained in national security, who understands how to do the things that a Minister of National Security is supposed to do. The reason that they put Fitzgerald Hines is because our borders are not to be secured. Cocaine and dirty cocaine money has to continue. Remember, we get millions of US dollars in plywood? That was one and done? No, sir. That was one that get catch, it get exposed. Somebody bust somebody mark, or somebody didn't pay their passage fee, so the shipment get whole. But that is Trinidad. We've been bringing in guns and dog food and ammunition in parts for washing machine and fridge. Customs, immigration, police in Trinidad know who in everything. They know who involved in everything. You're not passing it. Them guns and things not coming up salty, you know. They're coming out a pirogue with sea blast on them, you know. These things that are happening in this country, Clint Huggins, who was murdered, who was the witness against Dole Chady, was a special reserve police. And he wasn't the only one in Dole Chady gang. And he was telling us, and that's since the 80s, you know. That's 40-something years ago. He was telling us, and we have that evidence too. Everything that I am telling you is not speculation. They cannot argue these points. Everything I'm telling you is fact. Clint Huggins told us, the nation state of Trinidad, he told the judiciary, he told the judges in his statement that they used police vehicles to transport Dole Chady's drugs. Now, if Dole Chady was a relative small fry, because for all his complex that he built and that they seize and they turn into drug rehab, or so they say, he was still a relative small fry. This is a country that found $600 million in Monas. We found $1 billion on the way to Spain, that from a yacht that was outfitted in Trinidad. When I say these things, and you realize nobody has been held, brought to justice, prosecuted. We have an entire system of law enforcement and justice that is aware of what I am saying to you this morning. You'll understand why we have COVID today. And everything I was just telling you was to expose to you the glaring, pus-filled boil that is the management and operation of Trinidad and Tobago, and the failure of every single government to do anything to right size and fix this country. And every minister in parliament, every former one, you call them and you ask them, every prime minister in this country has been the chair of the National Security Council, and they know all those who are involved in drugs. And if those people are financing your political party, you are enabling drug trafficking in Trinidad and Tobago. Because that is the only conclusion that you can come to. And the reason we talked about drug trafficking again is because if we secured our borders today, in 14 days, with the existing lockdown, with the existing state of emergency, in 14 days, the incubation period, the cycle to incubate COVID-19 in the existing hosts will die. It'll pass. There'll be no more COVID for nobody else to get to hand, from John to Mary to Charlie to Sing to whoever, because it's gone. It's like a game of pass the message. If I don't have the message, I can't give it to you. If I don't have the COVID, I could hug you up and kiss you and lick you on the side of your face. You can't get it. You get other things, but you can't get COVID. So the game was always stop the importation of new COVID, which they've never done. and then effectively manage the cases that we have. How do you effectively manage the cases we have? There's something called contact tracing that they use for every virus spread, every epidemic, and especially for pandemics. And contact tracing means you interacted with people over the last 14 days. And we want to pin down those 14 people and build a matrix of contact to find all of the people who've been in touch with one another, who got us to a place where some of you have COVID, and we want to find who are those people and bring them out of circulation too, and then lock down all the people that they've been in contact with. Ask them to say, listen, for the next 7 days, I want you to stay home. That's what the lockdown is for. The lockdown is trying to do in a wild manner what contact tracing is supposed to do. The state of emergency is trying to add teeth to that. But the people not understanding what the government is trying to do, and worse, all they're hearing is that this is we are in the fourth 14-day cycle. We are in the third 14-day cycle of a state of emergency. We're in the fourth 14-day cycle of a lockdown. And all the people hearing is more positives, and you not telling us where these people get this COVID from, where they went to get it. You have to say that. You have to disclose that information, because we have to wrap it up there. If we know Sangre Grande is a super spreader, everybody not going Sangre Grande anymore. Diego Martin, close Diego Martin. Isolated. You have 14 days to beat it. And monitor and measure and fix your business. Instead, we have public health workers working with the 600 people in the hospital and then going back in their house and spread COVID. We have people who testing positive. The government is not, the public health is not contact tracing. The public health not even following up with those people. How are you? Are you well? What's your symptoms? Nothing. They call you in the beginning, they call you in the end if you're lucky. There's some people who just test themselves, they get test positive, they went home and isolate themselves and their family. They ain't bothered with the ministry, because they're not doing a good job. And today, on your holiday, you and your family locked down and can't go nowhere, because the government that you've elected to office to safeguard and protect you and your family and the country by extension cannot do the job, have failed massively to safeguard and protect this country, has allowed it to continue to flourish as a narcotics and money laundering paradise, and by extension has left the country open to COVID-19 and has failed through public health. We have some of the highest deaths per million from COVID-19 on planet Earth. We are the worst at COVID. Our transmission of COVID through this country has never been mapped. We have no matrix. We don't know what to avoid, where not to go, who not to talk to. We have people smuggling in their own Pfizer vaccines. It's now an international joke. Trinidad and Tobago cannot fix if the government is making a mess of the country. And I am asking you today, there is a petition called Keith Rowley, Fire Yourself. It's important. The petition is to him. We want 500,000 people to sign it. So we say, all of us want you to quit this job. All of us think you are too incompetent to do this job. All of us want you to go. Find that petition. It's easy to find now. It's all over social media. It's 3 days old. We almost at 5,000. I think we're 100 away from 5,000 last time I checked. Cross the 5,000. They will monitor these numbers. He will know. They will know. Trinidad not going to slip into no dictatorship. You know, the people of Trinidad and Tobago are not going to accept that. I'm telling you no. We're not accepting no dictatorship. So we need right now, the only conversation we need to have right now is competent governance. And that's all we're supposed to be talking about. We want competent governance to steward the economy and safeguard the nation and its people. That's it. And if you can't do it, fire yourself and let somebody come on board who could. And the way to tell them that 6 years into this term of incompetence is through a petition that lets them know that we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, are unhappy with your performance, and we would like democratically to change our government. That's the purpose of the petition. You don't have to clench your fist, you don't have to break nothing, you don't have to pelt nothing, you don't have to burn nothing. Sign it and work at getting people to sign it. Make it your mission for the next 48 hours that you're locked down. Call everybody, email everybody, WhatsApp everybody, tell them don't stick. Sign it and get 10 more people to sign it. We need it to mushroom. We need it to explode. We need it to be massive. When people in the world start to talk about it, you will hear them on CNN saying, in other news, a Caribbean country, 25% of the population have signed a petition calling on the government to resign over their failure to manage COVID-19. You see that? That will echo through this country like a bell. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, deserve better than this. This lockdown today, this continuing state of emergency for the third fortnight, for the third 14-day consecutive incubation cycle that they are failing to get on top of. The first incubation cycle, when we were locked down, was supposed to be the tip of the spread. The second one was supposed to be half that. The third one was supposed to be at 0. They have not done that. That means they do not know what they're doing, and the public health, parallel health, and all that health here they're talking about, failing you. Share this video, please. Find that petition, sign that petition, and get others to sign it as well. Let us get to mad numbers. We took a month to get 128,500 signatures for Andrea Barrett. Let's get 500,000 signatures for everybody else. Let us get a better country. This is for you and your mommy and your granny and your children. This is for everybody that you know and you love. This is for a better time, a better life, so that you don't have to sit down home and listen to videos like this and worries about this morning where you're getting bread and where you're getting cheese in a country that locked down for no reason. Find the petition, sign the petition, share the video. Stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.